Welcome back, everybody. We're going to dive into configuring the ASA for SNMPv3 and all that stuff that goes along with it. So what we're going to do now is go through the process of doing that. So SNMPv3 should be pretty straightforward. It's going to be pretty straightforward on the ASA to configure it. So the very first thing we want to do is SNMP-server, and we need to specify a host. So who are we going to point this traffic towards? So we're going to type in the host is going to be, in this particular case, is going to be located on the outside interface. And it's going to be 10.255.1.59. And we're going to type in version, and we're going to say version 3, because that's what complete command. Version 3 and current available usernames. Oh, we haven't configured a username yet. That's part of the problem. So for what we're gonna do, we'll adjust a little bit. We'll type in SNMP server. We'll specify a group first and foremost. Group, and we'll specify the name. We'll type in SNMPv3 underscore group. And then we're going to specify that it's going to be a version 3, and that it will be a privileged. So this is important to understand. If you're going to do no authentication at all, if you're just going to communicate back and forth, it's the no auth command. If you want to provide authentication, so a hashed password, then you need to specify auth, because it's going to be auth no priv. Priv means it's going to be privacy, which is going to be incorporating authentication plus encryption. So I'm going to type in priv, because we're going to be adding that in, and hit the enter key. Next I want to do SNMP-server and say user is going to be, and I'm going to say rriker, and I'm going to say SNMPv3 group, and I'm going to say v3, and I need to specify the authentication, and the authentication is going to be I'll say an MD5 hash, and I'll type in, for the moment, we'll just type in CISCO, and for the privilege, we will type in AES, and I will say that it is 128, and I'll say this will be also, but this will be C exclamation point $, C0. Okay, so now we've done that, and then we can type in SNMP server, and we can type in host, and the outside interface is going to be 10.255.1.59, and the version will be 3, and the user will be rriker, and we can specify UDP port if we need to, but that's all we're going to do. Now we've set up all of the things that we need to on the ASA. So we're going to say ping 10.255.1.59, and so it's not going to work, and I can tell you why it's not going to work. Because we have to create a entry here. So we're going to go to control panel. I'm going to go to networking, system and security, Windows firewall, and I'm going to say advanced settings. Give that a second to load. There it goes. Inbound rules, new rule, and we'll say custom rule, next, ICMPv4, next, ICMP in, and finish. So then we'll go ahead and minimize this again. We'll try to do that ping one more time. There it goes. By default on these boxes, the pings are dropped. So now we're going to go to PRTG, and we're going to click on network infrastructure. I'm going to click on this guy and type in add device. Now the add device, I'm going to come in here, and the device name is going to be ASA1, and the IP address is going to be 10.1.10.10, and I'm going to put in here the firewall. I'm going to click on So we're going to do a manual discovery, and we will click on OK. So now that should be added right. Where is it? Oh, why did that? Where did it go? Never give a structure. That did create, right? I don't know. Let's see here. Let's go in here and devices. Let's resynchronize. Okay, there it is. So we're going to come in here and we're going to click on run auto discovery. But here's the thing. We click on this guy. We're going to have to go to settings. And we have to scroll down a little bit to where the SNMP settings come into play. So we'll say, should be right. Credentials for SNMP devices inherit from. Here's where we have to specify v3. We have to type in MD5 and AES. So the user is going to be R. Riker. The password, we didn't specify a password, but we should be able to use the one from TACAC. So we're going to do that. And the data encryption key will be here. We'll say that this will be a C $! The context name, I didn't have that laid out. I'm going to click on save. So that should be all that's necessary for this guy to come up. And when we go back to devices, so it is, let me go ahead and get rid, there we go, that's better. So it can ping it, so we can, at least we have reachability there. And it's detecting an SSL circ. So one of the things we didn't do on the on that, so we click back on here. Eventually, it's detecting that there is a 443, so it's able to hit the web page. So if we go back to here, and under here we type in SNMP server, and we type in here, we specify enable, and we say traps. We're going to have a bunch of different options that we can type in. So we're going to say all traps, which is then as we do show run SNMP dash server, it's going to have all these attributes available to it. And you notice the engine information, all that type of stuff pops out. And so eventually that data will be able to be recognized. So we know that it's actually able to reach out and grab that information from the ASA. The ping is working, you can pull up the web page. But if I wanted to add sensors, so if I wanted to back up and go to devices, and if I wanted to do a add, so it's doing discoveries in progress. Now what should happen over a period of time is the ASA should go through and with the additional information that's being presented to SNMP polling, it should automatically go out and finish the discovery process. So right now it's at 10%. It should go through that process and add stuff. So if we were to click back on this, it is it's detecting a certificate issue, and we knew this. And this is one of the ways that you might detect that if it's happening. If you didn't know the certificate had failed, that's one way you could get information from it. But if we wanted to add a sensor to this, we could come in here and do pretty much anything we want to. We could come in here and grab any real information that's available to us. An example of this would be coming up here and saying, I want to know hardware parameters, and I want to know when, for instance, let's see, is there anything in here? No, there's not a whole lot in here that I would want to pull from. So we'll do bandwidth. There we go. So SNMP traffic. So we can come in here and say SNMP traffic. So preparing, could not create a discovery error in encryption password. Okay. So let me go back to devices. And it's partially able to go out there. It's not really So I have to go fix this. Let's hit the up arrow a little bit. Riker. That's a good question. I'm actually not sure. So we come in here and we do settings. The password that I've given it is not correct. User, I'm not sure. Let me see here. SNMP-server user is R Riker, SNMPv3 group, v3, and then it has the auth and the all that type of stuff that goes along with it. So show run SNMP-server. You see this detail right here where it's allowing this to communicate, but I'm not sure which. Let me create a username on here. Show run username. Let's say R Riker. Our username is R Riker, and the password is Cisco, and the privilege level is 15. See if that has anything to do with it. Oh, you know what? Let me change the password here. So the password here would just be Cisco. We'll say save. And we'll go to devices. Let's go in here and say add sensor. And we'll say, let's say CPU usage. Well, let's go back to bandwidth and uptime. We'll try to add that. So it's trying to do, so authentication password is use at least 8 characters. Okay, I can do that. I can come in here and say the password here is going to be, let's use P@SSW0RD, and actually let's do this and say SNMP user and do that, and then I'll come up here to show run SNMP-server, and we'll type in, let me scroll this up just a little bit, and we'll type in no SNMP user R Riker, SNMPv3 group, v3, enter. Cannot delete the R is being used as, by a user list or host command. Okay, so I will use SNMP server user. Oh, that's probably my problem. R Riker, or actually I should be able to do show run SNMP-server and type in no. That's probably what I did wrong. Let me just pull this out. Okay, so I'll just add one. So SNMP-server user is SNMP user, SNMPv3 group, v3. It's going to be auth is going to be using SHA authentication, or I'm sorry, did I use SHA or did I use MD5? I chose MD5. So I'll say MD5, and I'll specify the password is going to be CISCO, and the privilege is going to be AES, and we're going to specify 128 and C exclamation $C0, and hit the enter key. So now we'll come back over here to this guy. We'll say cancel. We'll go in here and back on the devices. So it's partially working. HTTPS SSL certificate. It's detecting all of that. We'll come in here. We'll click on settings. Come down here to the bottom, and then we'll say that the user is SNMP user, and the password is p@SSW0RD. We're going to go ahead and click on save. And so we'll be able to go back to the devices here. We'll click on add sensor. Let's see if this will work now. We'll click on bandwidth and traffic, SNMP traffic. Okay, that failed as well. Oh, the password, error in encryption password. Okay, all kinds of little problems here. So we'll cancel that. We'll go back to devices and click on ASA and then settings. The encryption password. Oh, maybe this is. Let's try it. We can modify that too. We can come in here and say the encryption is CISCO123. That took that. Show run SNMP-server. That took. So we'll modify that. We'll type in here. The is C exclamation $ C0. Oh no, that's not. C exclamation point $ C0123 and save that. So now we come back over here and we go to devices. I'm going to click on add sensor. Click on bandwidth and traffic. SNMP traffic. Let's see if this will work. SNMP error authentication. Well, I know I'm going in the right. I think I'm going in the right direction. But anyway, it is at a minimum. It is working as far as I can tell. As a matter of fact, we can actually take. Let's do this. Let's roll back a little bit instead of trying to go for the gusto. Let's say SNMP-server. We'll type in user is going to be. We'll type in SNMPv3 user. We'll SNMP server user SNMPv3 user, and we'll specify SNMPv3 group v3, and then we'll say hit the engine ID. Actually, I don't want to do that. We'll just say hit the enter key, and it says 0. So okay, we'll just say auth is MD5, and the let's see here. I don't know if you can add it with. If you let's see. Auth. MD5. We'll specify a character. We'll say Cisco123, and for the privilege, we won't actually encrypt it. We'll just do question mark. We'll hit the enter key. Zero length of privilege is not allowed. Okay, so privilege. We'll type in is des. Oh, actually, no, I'm not sure des is available. We'll stick with the AES, and we'll type in 128, and we'll specify a Cisco 123. Okay, we'll do that. So we'll go back to here. Click on here. We'll go to settings, and we'll come down a little bit, and then we'll say this is SNMPv3 user. The password here is going to be p@SSW0RD, and then the data encryption key will be the password will be this, Cisco123, and then we'll specify that the data encryption key is C exclamation point $C0123, and click on save. See if that fixes it. So we'll go back to devices, and then I will add in a sensor. This is a good way to check to see if it's actually working, at least in the way that I'm finding it. And we'll click on SNMP traffic, and if everything works, let's see. Let's hold out for the moment. See if we have it resolved. We haven't waited this long yet, so I'm optimistic. Do that. Hopefully it'll work. Fingers crossed. This is one of those things where it's like, I'm not sure if it's going to work. I'm going to say it's going to work. It may bug out. What I'm thinking might happen, this is just me spitballing here, is, yeah, so, okay. Wrong device or does not support, okay, that's a good sign, which means our authentication is working. But the, okay, well, actually says SNMP credentials are wrong or device does not support. Okay, so let's go to another thing that I know it does support. Let's go and do, let's see, let me see here, what, show run SNMP-server. We have config. Does it CPU threshold? So we'll do a CPU threshold, CPU usage, and we'll say, let's see what options we have here. CPU load. Let's see if that'll work. And that looks like it worked. So we're going to say create. Let's see what happens. Okay. All right. So that's a good sign. So after the CPU, let it poll, which means this tells me that my credentials are working for SNMPv3, which is I know I'm a total nerd when it comes to this. So let's take a step. Let's go to settings. No, I don't want to do that. I want to go to devices. Because right now it hasn't even pulled anything. Let's go ahead and now notice how it's increasing now, 18%. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let it sit and see if it'll take a little bit of time for it to do this, but it should auto discover once. Now it's climbing to 18%. The SNMPv3 config should be correct now, and 37%. That's a good sign. Before, I don't think it was climbing that high. And okay, now we have other statistics that are coming in here. HTTPS. So let's go here and add another sensor. Let's see what else we can do. Now I want to play it. Let's see here. Can we say network infrastructure? That's ping. No, SLA, DNS, port ping, LDAP, VPN. Well, no, that's not that. I don't want. What are my other options here? Remote access, IPsec, IKE, NAT, interface threshold. So interface should be supported. Let's see. Let me see if there's an option here. I don't see one. That's okay though. I was able to add one, which tells me that my credentials were working. Let's go back to devices. 37% still. CPU load. Right now, nothing is showing up. So as far as I'm concerned, it is working. And so now that I know what the what you call it, total brain fart at the moment. Now that I know the truth be told, it's my first time doing it on an ASA. I've done it on iOS a bunch of times, but I was like, I wonder what will happen if I go do this. Can we do a refresh? Let's refresh. I don't know how to do that. Oh, here we go, right here. Scan now. Well, that's a scan, not a refresh. Let's let's go ahead and just repoll 37%. I'm not sure if the ASA is actually going to be able to present that or if that MIB is going to work. CPU load, no response. Yeah, so right now I was able to add the sensor, but nothing's actually come of it yet. No big deal though. I'm just happy that it's actually working to the extent that it's working, and now we fully synced on it. So I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to leave this in play for the period of time, because then when we get into VPNs and stuff like that, I'll be able to do the Ike stuff and be able to check out how that type of stuff works in. So let's just recap what we did from a configuration standpoint. So what we had to do is, and I don't know how to get rid of a user. Let me try to do that one more time. No SNMP server user R Riker SNMPv3 group engine ID. It says configuration request from SNMP user were failed. Oh, so it says host poll host v3 tend to, so the PRTG server references user intended for removal. Okay. Let's go back to here and click on here. I don't think I have setting wise. Yeah, I'm not calling him, so it should be able to remove it. Let's do no. I don't know how to remove it. V3. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'm actually perplexed as to why that's not working. Cannot delete user as it is currently being used by user list or host command. Show run SNMP server user. I'm not sure. That's a little perplexing to me. Well, you know what? I'll come back to this later on once I have a potentially a better idea as to how to fix this. But as it sits right now, everything's working. So, based off the logic, I can just come up here and just do show run SNMP server. So, let me do this a little bit and then do it so it's easier for you guys to see. So basically, one of the things that I ended up doing was you have to create the group first, and then once you create the group, then you have to go back and create the user to apply to the group. And when I did that, you don't have to specify the engine ID. It does that by default, and I don't know how this is generated. I'm guessing it's a randomly generated value based off of the based off of some seed information. I'm guessing like the serial number and maybe the name of the group and whatever other information is needed. But then you have to define, when you define the user, this is how you would go in and do that. And normally, I've done this before in production I'm pretty sure I haven't done it on an ASA. I know I've done it on iOS routers and switches in the past. But basically, you need to, whatever you specify for the credentials in here, you need to be able to pull them into a PRTG. As a matter of fact, there's a way here in, where is it? Setup, I believe it is. Setup and accounts. Is it account settings? I forget where it's at, but there's a way to, when you click in around, settings. Here it is. You can actually create a credentials for the SNMP. So if you click on v3 and you come in here, you can define the user. So if I was to take and say SNMPv3 user with the credential of Cisco 123 and AES, and come in here and type in, a capital C, exclamation point, $C0123, and click on save. Anytime I add a new device for SNMPv3, I can go and, no, not that. I can come in here and say add new device, and then when I go through the adding of the new device, I can go ahead and say, you know what, I've got a predefined credential for that. So go ahead and just inherit whatever the global settings are, and then this process just automatically happens, assuming that I go through the process correctly on the network device and set it up correctly. So there's that piece. So that's what I really wanted to cover with you guys in this video. It worked out for the most part, and everything seems to have worked out quite well. So yeah, I am pretty happy with the overall situation. We know that it's working because the ASA has been fully discovered, so we know that we have the right information in place. So with that being said, everybody, thank you for stopping by. We'll catch you guys in the next video, and until next time, take it easy.